Audio Jungle.
We are going to be first off, let me address the comments because the comment section is ridiculous. Whenever everybody's arguments are no longer ifs and buts and if this happens and when this happens, that was the entire point of the video. So until your argument is solid concrete facts, don't waste our time in the comments, because my stance, and I'm not going to speak for Noah, but I'm sure that his stance is pretty much going to remain the same. Yes, it is not a hot take to say as of right now Patrick Mahomes is not as great as Tom Brady. And there's nothing wrong with that. He could be one day and maybe not. We have to watch it play out. So everybody in the comments, shut the fuck up.
I was honestly surprised at how many people like, I knew that there was people out there that obviously loved Patrick Mahomes, but I thought it was more so of just like an ESPN talking point because they have nothing. There's like nothing else for them to talk about. I didn't really know how many people actually thought and think that Mahomes is better than Brady.
One comment that, and we'll move on because we're going to be talking about something different. One comment that stuck out to me was somebody said, if you ask every GM in the NFL, like which quarterback they'll take, all 32, 80% of them would take Patrick Mahomes. Respectfully, those guys are not young. They're not 20. They just watched Brady run the league for 20 plus years. I guarantee that practically all of them are going to pick Tom Brady because he has proven it. They don't go off of something that could happen, which is our entire point. So all the if and but comments, keep them coming, and we appreciate everybody watching and throwing some comments. So, but that's the entire. I know a lot of you probably didn't watch the entire video, but if you watch the entire video, we did nothing but praise Mahomes, just saying that, hey, we're not going to crown anybody yet because what Brady has done is extremely impressive.
Yeah, we were pretty we were pretty, at least I think we were pretty like reasonable with our discussion, but I guess you'd have to watch the entire video to figure that out.
If you watch the first 30 seconds, I could understand why you might think that the video went a certain way or not, but that's also the point of YouTube. So thank you. What we are going to be doing though is we're going to be dropping 32 videos breaking down the first 32 teams. And since the Chief lover boys are in the comments, our first team that we're going to be breaking down is your 2023 Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. So go ahead.
With that being said, welcome. What is this? Welcome to 32. I guess something along those lines. We don't have an official name for it yet, but I just came up with that. So welcome to 32 might be it.
Yeah, if I like it. If you want to say that, I'm fine with that. What we are breaking it down to is we're going to go through the 2023 results, the key roster losses, key additions that they made during the offseason, what makes the Chiefs special, like their differentiator, and then 2024 predictions. This series of videos are going to be no longer than probably like 20 minutes max. If it goes longer, it is what it is. So with that being said, let's get started with the Chiefs 2023 season results. Overall record 11-6, first in the AFC West. Home record 5-4. Key wins, I don't know, man. I was going through these key wins and I can't find many. Like, it might sound like a hater take, but during the regular season, they just kind of have a cupcake schedule because of their division that they play in. Key losses at home, they lost to the Lions opening night, the Eagles, and the Bills.
I wanted to touch on the home versus away record real quick because everybody talks about how difficult it is to go into Arrowhead and win, and I agree, it's tough. But I was really surprised when I looked up these
splits.
I didn't realize that they were 5-4. They were better
on the
road than they were at home, which normally you think of that atmosphere is like, all right, you're going to lean into the crowd, you're going to play off that energy, and I don't know, normally you just play better at home, but that wasn't the case, and that was something that honestly stood out to me.
And then going into that, their away record 6-2, very strong on the road, with key wins being over Jacksonville. And I don't know. I mean, if you want to look at the schedule and tell me what you think of their away, just that division that they're in, like you look at it, like the Chargers were a wreck last year. The Broncos are a wreck. The Raiders are a wreck. So until like these teams kind of, it feels like the Chargers are like a year away. It feels like the
Yeah.
Chiefs are really going to benefit from being in like a real cupcake division with like no real quarterbacks other than Justin Herbert. But that's just, I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, but they go out and win, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I have their record in the division was what 4-2, I believe, is what I
Yeah.
have. So like
They lost to the Broncos and the Raiders.
I don't really see that changing moving forward for the at least until the Chargers kind of figure it out. Like realistically, they'll probably stay right around 4-2, 5-1. Yeah, 4-2, 5-1. In the upcoming season, especially. I mean, the quarterback situation in the rest of that division isn't great, and one of them being a rookie, another being a better backup, and then one being Justin Herbert, which obviously I think he's great, but they just aren't. I don't think they're there yet.
I'm right with you. And then let's get into the Chiefs playoff run, which this is something that really needs to be highlighted. Is they went on like a historical defensive run in the playoffs. It was like understated how great their defense was. So with that being said, Miami at home, that was the game that was like freezing cold. It was 26-7. They really handled business. Harrison Butker made like 100 field goals in that game. He balled. Next game, Bills on the road. They won 27-24. That's the infamous Tyler Bass missed field goal to the left.
Yeah.
And then Ravens, they won 17-10. The infamous Zay Flowers fumble, which crushed me because I really wanted to see the Ravens go far last postseason. And then lastly, in the Super Bowl, San Fran, the 25-22 overtime win. Jake Moody makes that extra point. We're not talking about this Super Bowl, but that's not the case. This was kind of the first game in Mahomes's postseason this past year where he like really took the game by the balls and absolutely balled out. So, what do you think of like that playoff run? Or are there any games that you want to like comment on?
I mean, those are 4 really good teams that they had to go through. So,
No
I mean,
doubt.
it's not like it was a walk in the park. That Miami game honestly played so much into their favor as far as the weather being so bad and Miami having to come all the way from Miami, obviously. And plus, Miami was a little depleted at that point, I believe. So it played into their favor, but nevertheless, I still thought Miami was a good team. And then to go win at Buffalo and then go win at Baltimore and then at a neutral site against San Francisco, those are 3 impressive wins.
No, definitely. That even honestly, the most impressive win to me was just going out and dominating the Dolphins. I thought the Dolphins, I said this at the time. I just thought that their run game, they were going to be able to lean on it in that situation with the cold, but that was dead wrong, and Tua laid an egg. So the key roster losses, I kind of went through. There wasn't many to like hang your hat on or like overly think about, other than L'Jarius Sneed was traded to Tennessee, which their defensive backs coach came out with a statement that said losing him is like losing Michael Jordan. And there's been kind of a presser run this postseason where a lot of the wide receivers, a lot of people are kind of crowning L'Jarius Sneed as like the best corner in the NFL. And I feel like that's a really, really massive loss, and not that many people have like really overstated it the way that they should have.
I mean, yeah, if your defensive back coach comes out and makes a comment like that, it's not great when you lose a guy equivalent to Michael Jordan, apparently. But it's not like their defense as a whole really lost a lot. Obviously, he's a huge part of that, but they still have Trent McDuffie on the other side who's really good. So like that helps. They realistically just need to figure somebody out to man the other side of the field. I only had three
Losses.
3 losses.
Then
Like 3 real losses. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed. I had L'Jarius Sneed, Willie Gay, and Donovan Smith. I think that losing a starting offensive lineman it's a loss. I don't think it's like the end of the world for that team because they're filling in with a younger guy that's probably going to be better. But Like, still, I think that was worth noting.
Yeah. I hate
And then
Donovan
you lose
Smith.
starting linebacker Willie Gay. Like, he
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah, he played good football for them in the playoffs. Key additions: Carson Wentz, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Herb Smith.
Key additions is Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Kingsley Samatuaya or some shit like that. The tackle who is going to be replacing
BYU.
from BYU. I'm going to go
I
into this.
I have a couple other things that I wanted to add to that.
That's
Not
fine.
necessarily like key additions, but I think being able to re-sign a couple guys is a significant point to mention. They did re-sign Chris Jones. They re-signed their entire defensive line for the most part, which I think is very important to note, like for this team moving into this season. Chris Jones, Mike Donna, Derek Nottie, and Tershawn Wharton, and then also Drew Tranquill. Bringing back 5 guys on your defense that was a very solid defense last year is, I think, a really big part, and sort of eases the fact that you're losing one of the best corners in the NFL, I would say. So that's just like something to keep an eye out for moving forward, I'd say.
Yeah. So we'll get into this now that we can go into this part. What makes the Chiefs special? They have the best player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes. That's always a big part. But they have the best coaching staff in the NFL by far. Andy Reid as their head coach and offensive guru, and then Steve Spagnuolo as their defensive coordinator. The reason why you read all of those names, I don't think that any of those guys on that defense are like that special outside of Chris Jones when
I
he
agree with
decides
you.
that he wants to play. So I think that they're in a position where Steve Spagnuolo gets kind of the most out of his guys, and they really a punch above their weight. But as an overall roster whole on their defensive side of the football, I think it's slightly underwhelming. Honestly, they don't have a true edge rusher. They have Karlaftis, who's okay. But they just don't have that guy who like is going to get you like 15 plus sacks in a season. Chris Jones is getting older, and when he wants to play during those impactful times of the game, he does make that big difference. Other than that, I guess we'll just have to see. I talked to Andrew when we went to the Baltimore Orioles game because I kind of said the same thing about Trent McDuffie, and his response was like, yeah, like Trent McDuffie is like a good like nickel, like a decent nickel corner, and he kind of played him down. So I don't know how if he says that about a player like who watches so much, like for people who don't know, he is an NFL scout who breaks down these players and watches a ton of film. For him to have like that strong of an opinion about somebody like makes me kind of think a little bit like what was L'Jarius Sneed being on the other side, was that enhancing like Trent McDuffie and being asked to be like a true number 1 corner? Like, is that a possibility for him? I guess we'll see.
We'll see for sure. I agree with you when you say that it's the coaching on the defensive side of the ball that is the overarching reason. But I don't think it ever really hurts if you're bringing back guys that are familiar with the scheme, familiar with their role, what they have to do. On paper, the guys might be like, if you're looking at the Chiefs defensive roster on paper, there's probably not a ton of guys that necessarily stand out to you, but as a collective unit, what they do on the field, that defense has been, like you
Amazing.
said earlier, punching above their weight class. And I think that's a really important thing that is going to help them in this next season. So like that's kind of where that's kind of one of my things for the Chiefs, like differentiator, keys to success for this upcoming season, like outside of Patrick Mahomes. It's the ability that they kept a lot of guys on defense. They still have Spags coaching the defense as a whole. Yes, it sucks losing L'Jarius Sneed, but like that defense is when they get out there and they're playing as a unit, they're pretty fucking good. And I don't think that goes as noticed until we really get to the playoffs. Like I was looking at their stats, and they were ranked 2nd in opponent points per game, 5th in yards per game, what do I have here? Opponent red zone scoring, they're 8th. Like they've only they're really, really fucking good, and it really goes underappreciated, I think, how good that Chiefs defense is. Everybody wants to rah-rah about Mahomes, and I get it, and he deserves it, but I think this defense deserves a lot of credit too.
Yeah, and that's I don't think, and that's why I don't think I'm not going to give any credit to any of the players, to be completely honest. I'm just going to give the credit to the
unit.
like I said, the coaching duo. Like having we talked about it last year. Like if you have elite coaches, you're going to be in a good spot. So Andy Reid is your offensive guru, and Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive guru. Those are the best in the business, and that's what sets them apart, along with having the best player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes. So yeah. Plain and simple. So I want to get into the 2024 predictions. I'm going to go give mine and then you can give yours. Like I said, Chiefs will always benefit as of right now being in the AFC West until some of those teams get figured out. I feel like the Chargers are probably a year away from being decent. But at this point, it feels like you have to like be able to trust Mahomes, Reed, and Spagnuolo. But like at the same time, we kind of just talked about like their defensive personnel, and I personally don't love it. I don't know about you. And then from the offensive side of the ball, their wideouts that wideout room's still bad. Plain flat, simple. Don't care what anybody says. Argue with me all you want. Adding Xavier Worthy, if it pans out in the NFL, it would be an anomaly. It has never happened. Somebody at his size, with his production and his speed, has never panned out in the NFL ever. So if it happens, it'll be like an anomaly. Second, they added Hollywood Brown. We know what Hollywood Brown is in the NFL. That he was in the Cardinals building. He's best friends with Kyler Murray, and they literally didn't even want to pay him like anything to have him come back. He's always hurt, and I don't think that he's a great wide receiver. So you add him, so I don't think that does anything. And then lastly, you have Travis Kelce, who's a year older, who really looked like he lost his edge during the regular season last year, got it back in the postseason and balled. But as of right now, I haven't seen anything that Travis Kelce has done this offseason that hasn't been like running around with Taylor Swift, drinking beer, and like fucking around. So I guess I'll have to see it. I feel like having that core is what I'm saying of like skill players. I know everybody was really excited about them, but Kadarius Toney, Mecole Hardman, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown like still doesn't really fire me up too much. It seems like a bunch of guys that can do the same thing. They're all fast gadget guys, and they don't have anybody who's like that real number one. Lastly, like I said, the defense, I think that just them not having a real edge rusher is going to come back and backfire on them at some point. But with all of that being said, regardless, I think that they probably go 10-7, 11-6, go to the playoffs, and are first in the West.
Yeah, so I kind of have a couple of like keys to success for what I think this Chiefs team should look for, like for this upcoming season. You kind of touched on a handful of these things, but there's a couple things that I wanted to throw in there. Pretty much like the off the field stuff. Like they need to tighten it up off the field when it comes to like all of the like legal shit that's been happening. Like they've had a couple guys get arrested.
Rashee Rice. I forgot to mention
Rice.
For wide receivers. My bad.
Yeah, they had a couple guys get arrested for weed on their team. One of them being offensive tackle. Rashee Rice for that like hit and run situation. Then they just had that guy arrested for fighting dogs. So like, and then on top of that, like Taylor Swift, the Travis Kelce thing will literally not be associated with the Chiefs until they break up or something. So like that's always going to be there, but don't make it a distraction, which Travis clearly hasn't done a good job of up to this point. All right, now more so on the football field. I think they need to limit the interceptions. Mahomes was 14th. He had 14 and threw the fourth most in the NFL last year. I think they need to figure out a way to run the football better. They ranked 19th in rush yards per game, and they had 9 rushing touchdowns all season, which that was shockingly low when I saw that. Some things they did really well was protect Patrick Mahomes. They were second in sacks given up, so continue to give him a clean pocket. I know it's not all the time that it's a clean pocket, but because of Mahomes' like mobility and athleticism, but 28 sacks last year, second least, is definitely something to note. And if you're going to give that guy time, he's going to make a play. And then pretty much the last thing is just catch the fucking football. They led the league in drops, which bringing in Hollywood Brown as a team that led the league in drops probably isn't great. But
and Xavier Worthy had drop problems in college as well. But keep going.
But yeah, so it all adds up, right? So pretty much just catch the football. That's all. Like Mahomes is gonna find you. Just catch the football, make the play. You're gonna get put in great spots in an Andy Reid offense. You're gonna get put in great spots with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. He's gonna find you. He's gonna get you the football. You just have to catch it. But yeah, I actually think on paper this offense might be like looks better than it did last year. It's still unknown what we're going to get with Xavier Worthy. We know what we're getting with Hollywood Brown, but like I think maybe that little aspect of them having Xavier Worthy like would give me a little bit more hope that the offense is better. I mean, they were sending out Marquez Valdez-Scantling every week. And I think he's going to be better than that. I think Xavier Worthy's going to be better than that. But who knows? So at least on paper, I think it looks better. But I mean, from a schedule standpoint, they have the 12th easiest schedule according to Sharp Football Analysis. They really, really don't have that tough of a schedule, and they don't have like a stretch of games that is like a stretch of more than 3 games that is like really difficult. So I was breaking this down, and this upcoming season they play the Ravens, Bengals, at San Francisco, at Buffalo, at Cleveland, and at Pittsburgh. Those were like the notable games to me. Their tough stretches are week 1, week 2 against Ravens, Bengals, and then at the end of the year, weeks 14 to 16, they play Browns, Texans, Steelers. Other than those 2 stretches, they're pretty much playing a team that's okay to good, and then they go and play somebody bad. So I think that plays really well into their favor. What did they go last year? 11-6.
Yeah, 11-6. I mean, that happened last year though. They were kind of in that schedule that they had the same as last year, and they went and you lose to the Eagles, who ended up being bad towards the end of the year. You lose to the Raiders, who were a dumpster fire all season. You lose to the Broncos, who were bad. Like they lost some games last year too that like just didn't feel like they should have lost. So I'm kind of taking that into account again. I think that the Chiefs will always drop some games that they shouldn't lose just because I don't know why. That's just kind of what happens.
I think they probably finish at 12-5 and then win the division, win the AFC West.
Yeah, I don't want to be like so hot takey or anything like that, but I don't know. I know that they went out and won a Super Bowl. So like with all of that being said, like it just feels like we watched this team really struggle in 2023, and like everybody like got older. Like all their key players like all got older. I don't really love what they did like on offense that much. Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for 6 to 8 games.
I did forget about that. I'm not going to lie when I
I'm not going to say, like I said, I think as of right now, you got to trust Mahomes, Reed, and Spags, but they had a weird vibe around that team the entire season last year and got it together in the playoffs. Same thing. Like you said, there's so much drama off the field, like leading up to the season, guys getting arrested, your best wide receiver getting suspended for an extended period of time. It just seems like a lot going on, and my gut wants to say like, oh, like that matters, but at the same time, like if you say that, like you get crucified. So I think
it matters. It definitely matters, but I think, does it matter when your head coach is Andy Reid, your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes? That's what it comes down to.
No, probably not, but that's going to be I think as of right now, until they can get like this thing figured out, what's ever going on with them, I think that's what makes them a 10 to 11 win team instead of a 13 to 14 win team, is because of this shit that's going on, essentially, like the off the field distractions, and some of those like other like key factors that we were saying, like not having sure-handed wideouts, and then like I think a big deal is like they just like don't have a real edge. Like not having a real edge rusher in the NFL is like kind of crazy.
Yeah, but they were able to generate enough with
Well, how many sacks did they have last season, and where did they rank alongside of the rest of the NFL?
I have to look that up. I didn't have that part. I didn't look at that necessarily as a whole because I was looking more so like how many yards they were giving up, passing and throwing. I was looking at their red zone stats, touchdowns given up, and like they're all top 10 in all of those things. So like, does it matter?
I think getting pressure on the quarterback is extremely important. Yes.
No. I meant like that they don't have like a real edge. Like it seemed like they were able to still be really, really good without one.
I think that yes, and that's the benefit of having like Spagnuolo. Like I'm saying, I think at some point, yes, that is going to.
So
matter.
You think this year when it catches up to that?
I not even it might not. I'm just saying like at some point, like not having like a bona fide one edge rusher, which is probably like having a quarterback is the most important position,
agreed,
and then having an elite edge rusher is the second most important position. Like
for sure.
Not having that as in your arsenal, like at all. Like who's their second best player on their team? Like their tight end. Like I don't know. And like I said, I'm not trying to like sit here and hate on the Chiefs because you'll just get crucified for it because they just won back-to-back Super Bowls. I am personally just like not as high on the Chiefs as other people are. So I think that they win like 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think I'm comfortable with them sitting at 12-5. I don't even know what their over/under is for the season. Did you write that down? I would imagine it's probably like.
Let me take a look here.
Right around what we said.
I think it's probably like at 11, like 10.5, like max.
I wish I could just look this up without having to log in. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
What's it say?
11.5 wins. Like I'm slamming the under on that.
Okay.
Like, I just don't foresee them winning 12 games. I think it's going to be hard for them. Like I said, I don't want to like beat a dead horse. Like I just think that like they didn't do enough this offseason. And your second best player is Travis Kelce, who's a year older. And I guess we got to give Travis Kelce like the benefit of the doubt to kind of figure it out. But all season last year, like bad drops, looked terrible. And he figured it out in the playoffs when it mattered. But in the regular season, if Travis Kelce isn't playing at an elite level, they're not going to hit that threshold of 12 wins because you need to have him play as just as an elite a level as everybody else because he's your most important piece on offense. He's your best weapon on offense. And I think having your best weapon on offense being a 32-year-old tight end is an issue.
Dating an international superstar.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's like a crazy statement or not.
It's not.
Like,
no, it's really not. And I certainly think there's truth to it. But like I said, I think that on paper, this offense at least looks a little better. And I think if they can figure out running the football a little bit more, they'll be fine. Their offensive line is good. I don't understand why they couldn't run the football.
Because you have a seventh. Listen, I know that this is like committing a crime in Kansas City, probably because he's probably a fan favorite. But like, that's what happens when you have like a 7th round running back who's like, okay, like Pacheco's an okay running back. There's nothing wrong with him. He runs hard, but like, he doesn't do anything exceptional. So I think like that's where you see that issue with like their run game, where their running back room is like kind of dog shit. And like, you look at all of their like rooms, like across the board, like other than quarterback, like they're all kind of dog shit. I think so. Like their running back room is what? Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like that's a bad running back room, respectfully.
I mean, it's nothing to like brag about by any means, but I don't think Pacheco's bad.
No, he's
I don't think he's
okay.
bad. I think he's just I think he's fine. But even then,
He
like
runs hard.
he does run hard. I don't know. I'm expecting a bigger year from him. I think they got to be able to run the football better, and I think they'll figure out a way to do that.
My
And
my opinion on that is like if you are expecting Isaiah Pacheco to like do more, like I think you're wrong. Just because like he was a 7th round draft pick for a reason. Like I think like this is his ceiling. Like that
I
what you
also
see out of Isaiah Pacheco is Isaiah Pacheco.
I also think the lack of receivers played a role in this too, because on defense, now I'm not sitting here and saying that these receivers that they have now are like much better
World beaters.
than yes, correct. But I think that plays a role in it too. And I think if the Chiefs can get to a point where they start to find some reliability with these wide receivers, it starts to open up the box, no diddy, and will allow for a better run game. Because last year you could put 8 guys in the box and say, all right, Travis Kelce, you're the only one out there that's going to beat us. Go ahead and try. And even he wasn't doing that.
I just like I would have to go back and watch like every single game to see if there's any truth to that statement at all. But I highly doubt that any team in the NFL is putting 8 in the box against Patrick Mahomes, regardless of who the wide receiver is.
You get my point. You get my point.
I'm just saying.
You can put an extra guy in there, and feel a little bit more comfortable based off of who's lining up to the left and right.
I get what you're saying. So I respectfully disagree, which is fine.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think like I said, I think that you look at every single room in the Chiefs building and they're all average. Like I don't think any room other than that quarterback room, which is like A++, like the best that you can possibly have. Like you have Carson Wentz and you have Patrick Mahomes in the same quarterback room. The rest of them are just kind of like, it's whatever.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, I still think obviously I still think Kelsey's really good, but I would say that room's probably at like a B+ just because he's 33 years old.
Yeah.
Didn't put up that great of a regular season, but
right,
I still consider him one of the best in the NFL.
So I said 10-7, you said 12-5. That is our official Chiefs season prediction for the 2024 upcoming season. That's our official prediction. So we're going to be doing all 32 teams. So that's team number 1, the Chiefs.
Audio Jungle.